Hello and welcome to the last lesson of the Theory Frenzy First Steps tutor book. In this lesson you will be learning about the 4/4 time signature again and also a little bit about rests. So here the first section talks about the 4/4 time signature and then it explains a little bit more about bar lines and also the double bar line. So just remember that everything has to be split into bars, and if it's a 4/4 there's going to be 4 crochet beads in each bar. For the exam you might be asked to bar certain notes, and more will be explained about that later when we do the specimen paper. So music is divided into bars, and there's an example of a piece written called Crochet Mania which shows all the crochets divided into bars. Then you have the opportunity to have another practice of writing the time signature. The book then goes into explaining about rests. So the rest that actually hangs from the line is called the whole bar rest. So it can be called the semi-brief rest if the time signature is 4/4, or it could be a 3/4 time signature, or it could be a 2/4 time signature, depending what the time signature is. Okay? Now what you've got to remember about the whole bar rest is that it hangs from the line, and it always hangs on the 4th line up. Now the way I remember it is that if it hangs from the line, it's a strong man. You do get a minim rest that looks very similar to that, which sits on a line, and so I think of the minim being weaker, so it has to sit down, and that's how I see the difference between them. So your first task is to actually write a little bit about the semi-brief rest and have a go at writing those. Then underneath you have a copy of the minim rest, and you can see exactly what I've been talking about. It sits on the line there, doesn't hang. And then you have the opportunity of practicing writing the minim rest too. Then we move on to the crochet rest, which is like a little squiggle, and you've got the opportunity to practice writing those. And then finally the quaver rest, which is like a 7, and then you have the chance of practicing those. After that you've got a few questions to answer which involve a little bit of musical maths really. The first one asks how many quavers are there in a minim, then how many crochets are there in a minim, how many quavers in a semi-brief, how many quavers in a crochet, how many quavers in a dotted minim, how many counts is a quaver rest worth, how many counts is a crochet rest worth, and how many counts is a minim rest worth. And then finally it asks you about common time. It says common time is the same as what time signature. Now the more astute people will have noticed that that hasn't been covered in the tutor book. Now the common time signature is another way of writing 4/4, which is 4 crochets in a bar. So that finishes and completes lesson 8 of the tutor book.